Hey guys, welcome to the all-new Whisky411. So, this is not the video I promised. Brian, leave over at shit. Let me restart that. Hey guys, welcome to Whisky411. I'm Dustin. I'm your host. So, the first thing I have to tell a few people is that this isn't the video I promised you. Originally, we were going to do a review on Blackland and the distillery visit that we had back in March. We were down there visiting some friends, Kat and Shane from the Whiskey Tribe, and decided we wanted to do a review of a distillery, and that was one of the ones we hadn't been to. So instead, what we decided to do, or what I've decided to do, is review Bendt. So first of all, Bendt, they were very welcoming, very friendly. They weren't comfortable with us recording there and doing the review on site at the time. Totally understandable. Totally respect that. So we're not going to do that today. Hopefully, in the future, they'll invite us back and we'll be able to review what they have to offer and their tour and everything else. So we'll see what happens with there. But I did want to take the opportunity to talk about them because they are doing some pretty cool things, some things that maybe people aren't aware of. So, for anyone who knows about Bendt, they are a Texas distillery. They are located in Louisville, or excuse me, yeah, Louisville. Sorry, Blackland's in Fort Worth. Um, and they're doing some pretty cool things. So, their claim to fame is Bendt No.5. So, the cool thing about Bendt No.5 is it's a blended whiskey. Okay, that's nothing new, that's nothing exciting, whatever, right? Until you realize that their blended whiskey is a blend of their own mashes, so their own whiskeys. They're actually making these profiles, making these different varieties of whiskey, blending them together to create their own blend. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, that's actually pretty cost prohibitive in many ways. It's just something that a lot of distilleries just don't do. And part of it is that the added cost and time involved in that. I mean, you have to distill each spirit, you have to age each spirit, you have to find the right profile for each spirit, and then you have to take and you have to blend them together and make something that is enjoyable that people want to buy. And I think that overall they've done a really good job with that. So what I wanted to do is compare that, which is this little taster bottle, which you guys have ever watched me, you know I love taster bottles, they're awesome, to this, which is Unbendt, which is a completely unblended whiskey. This is actually their straight wheat whiskey. It's a bottled in bond, which is also unusual in Texas, just because the Texas whiskey family of whiskeys is still relatively new from that perspective. So finding bottled in bond 4-year old release whiskeys, like mass release whiskeys, is actually pretty unusual and pretty cool. I had a chance to try that with my brother and a couple friends from Iron Root, and we enjoyed that, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and pour a little bit of this here. Normally this bottle's a little more full. The heat made it spill in my car a little bit, so that was my fault, not theirs. So, on the nose, it's got kind of a almost an apricot kind of smell to it, um, like a dried apricot. It's really enjoyable. It's it's subtle. It's not like a really strong nose, but it's there and it's enjoyable. It's got sweetness. It's got that hint of sugar that you like almost like a brown sugar molasses kind of. Once again, it's all very subtle, all very well balanced, but definitely not in your face on the nose. Okay, so the taste is a little different. The taste doesn't necessarily match the nose. I still get that kind of apricot kind of vibe. I still get that sort of sugary fruit, almost desserty kind of vibe to it, which is I really enjoy. It's definitely a change of pace from the just straight FU whiskeys that I tend to drink a lot of times and that so many of us do just because we like the full flavor. Um, but once again, it's really well balanced. There's a little bit of heat. It's, I would say, like medium. It's not thin, but it's not like a thick heavy whiskey either. It's somewhere in the middle, which is really cool. Hmm. So, yeah, it's almost got a floral, like rose and honey kind of vibe to it. Um, there's a little bit of kind of a cinnamon note in there, which I assume is the rye or the barrel spice. Very, very enjoyable, very light, very kind of refreshing, in fact. Now, I know that this is marketed a lot as, say, for making cocktails and such, but to be honest, I would actually say that if you enjoy a sweeter dessert type whiskey, that this might be right up your alley. Now it's 41.5% alcohol, or 83 proof. And here we go. It is 30% straight whiskeys aged 2 years or more, and 70% whiskeys aged 1 year or more. Now it doesn't break down the exact blend, but that's okay. I mean, they're still being perfectly clear that this is a blend, that it is a blend of straight whiskeys, and I enjoy that. I like that. It's pretty cool. So, if you're in the mood for something different, oh, and before I forget, that one of the coolest things about it is, so we talked about how cost prohibitive that can be, and yet they're still selling this for $25 to $30 a bottle. So very, very much in the budget, affordable bracket. Uh, yeah, it's not going. It's not. It's in the same market as some of the more affordable single malts or what have you, or just straight bourbons. But for a blended whiskey made entirely in Texas at a craft distillery, I have to give them credit and say that they've done a really good job here. It's something that is unusual, enjoyable, and something I would be more than happy to keep on my shelf and share with friends, especially if I had company coming over and they just wanted to drink some whiskey. Oh, this would be right up the alley. This would be nail it on the head. Yeah, to be honest, I could sip on that on a warm day all day long. That's just good. Okay, so now I'm going to move on. Like I said, we've got the Unbent, which is one of their limited releases, I believe. They have several releases, or they've done several. Obviously, these are not going to be as big of releases per se because if you're making a blend, a lot of your malts are going to go into making that blend, and that's your flagship, so to speak. But this is an unblended straight wheat whiskey. It is obviously being bottled and bonded is 100 proof, 50% alcohol. Once again, done in Louisville. And let's see if it says anything else here. So, crafted from local soft red winter wheat. And they say soft, creamy, reminiscent of fresh from the oven baked goods. So, let's go ahead. Now, I have had this before. I did really enjoy it. That's part of what convinced me to purchase a bottle of it. And like I said, I shared this with a couple friends, and we all enjoyed it. We thought it was great. So, especially with the popularity of wheat whiskeys these days, it's really nice to see someone doing that and to see a craft distillery doing that and going through the time and the effort of doing a bottled in bond because that is a very restrictive and also in its own way cost prohibitive thing to do. So, cheers to you guys over at Bendt. Thank you. So, let's go ahead and get into this. Yeah, so on the nose, they're not wrong. It's oven baked goods. It's sugary, but like caramelized sugar. It kind of reminds me of apple pie, or apple crisp, apple cobbler, something like that. Something where you've got you've got that fruity or tangy note, but then you've also got that more earthy, caramelized kind of note. But it once again, it's balanced. It carries through. You'll have to excuse me. I had allergies, so my nose isn't quite up to par as usual, but we'll give it a go here. So once again, it's really subtle on the nose. Oh, there's a little bit of a buttered kind of note, like melted butter. Yeah, I'm not even sure that I'd say this reminds me of fresh baking goods out of the oven. I mean, it does, but I could even say that it reminds me of the ingredients, like when you're making a pie or a cobbler or something. Like, that smell of the dough, that smell of the apples and the cinnamon as they're sitting in the bowl, things like that. It takes you back to it takes me back to kind of my childhood in a way, and I really appreciate that. Okay. Well, on the palate, it's definitely denser. It's a bit richer. It does have that spice. It, is more pronounced. Not in a bad way, but it's definitely got a bit more of the spice to it. Uh, let's see. Yeah, so there's almost like an orange zest. There's I mean, you've got the fruits, the florals, but then you got the orange zest. You have this cinnamon, this not quite the nutmeg. Like, I wish it was there. That'd be really cool. But obviously, you can't just make it taste like nutmeg. But that would be a really cool effect. Um, but very enjoyable. Sweet, but not cloyingly sweet. Not like some, not like a dessert whiskey. It's definitely not a dessert whiskey, which a lot of wheat whiskeys can be. So I get a lot of the that barrel from being barrel intact. I could enjoy. I think if you were to purchase a bottle of that, you would never be disappointed. Now it's run a little bit more. I mean, obviously, honestly, it's really phenomenal and very good value for that whiskey. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at on it. I like it. It's good, and I like this. I like what Bendt is doing. Um, so if you're on the fence, if you're a person who's like, oh, I don't like blended whiskeys. Oh, I don't, just really cool. And I hope we can go film it with you. This story is. Okay, but it's a quiet little neighborhood. The people are amazingly inviting and friendly. They have some really nice cocktails, really enjoyable cocktails. Really kind of it's got that kind of Western kind of vibe, and I dig it. It was really cool. Hopefully, once again, we'll do a review there. Yeah, if they get if they invite us back. So if you want to see us there and want us to get invited back, feel free to let them know and pass that along. That we'd love to enjoy that with them. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's good. It's all I got to say. They're they're doing craft, and that's what we like the customer experience, like being